So domestically, there's growing concern about a Trump administration purge within the FBI, loyalty tests and the like. But the Justice Department is now saying it will not target Bureau employees who simply followed orders. Acting Deputy Attorney General Emile Beauvais sent a memo to the FBI's workforce yesterday explaining that employees who carried out their duties in an ethical manner in regards to January 6 criminal cases won't be at risk of termination or other penalties. We'll see who gets to decide what an ethical manner looks like. He wrote this, quote, "The only individuals who should be concerned are those who acted with corrupt or partisan intent, who blatantly defied orders from department leadership, or who exercised discretion in weaponizing the FBI." Meanwhile, Pam Bondi was sworn in as the new U.S. Attorney General yesterday in an Oval Office ceremony attended by President Trump and administered by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. It was the first cabinet swearing-in ceremony the president has attended. Trump praised Bondi's record as a prosecutor and said she will restore, quote, impartial justice at the department.
I think she's going to be as impartial as you can possibly be. I know I'm supposed to say she's going to be totally impartial with respect to Democrats, and I think she will be as impartial as a person can be. I'm not sure if there's a possibility of totally, but she's going to be as total as you can get. She's going to end the weaponization of federal law enforcement and restore honesty and integrity at the DOJ and the FBI.
Almost immediately after that swearing-in ceremony, the Attorney General got to work. Bondi issued more than a dozen directives aimed at overhauling the Justice Department. In one memo, she created the, quote, weaponization working group to review the cases brought up against President Trump, including the special counsel cases and the Manhattan hush money case. So, Jonathan Lemire, she said, Pam Bondi did during her confirmation hearing, she would be looking forward, seemed to suggest that she would not be targeting any employees, that she was just going to do the work of the justice system. But in her first act as Attorney General, promising to investigate the investigators of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, that message is pretty clear. And this is what Donald Trump promised for 2 years on the campaign trail, that he would attack the so-called weaponization of government, that he would go after the deep state. And we've seen that throughout what he and Elon Musk are doing, rooting out and destroying huge swaths of the federal bureaucracy, or at least trying to. And now in the Department of Justice, this comes, of course, on the heels of those 8 FBI directors being fired, and now this chilling investigation of all those involved in January 6th cases. And yes, you noted the Bureau tried to provide some clarity yesterday, that's sort of suggesting that no, it'll just be those who acted unlawfully. But you rightly noted, well, who gets to decide that? What's the discretion there? And certainly Pam Bondi out of the gate says this is going to be a major priority. And Joe, we need to just talk about the setting for a second here. It's not just that this is the first swearing in that President Trump attended. This was done in the Oval Office itself. These things do not tend to happen in the Oval Office. We have seen other cabinet secretaries, even just recent days, and certainly with previous presidents, they get sworn in executive chambers. I believe Kristi Noem was sworn in at Clarence Thomas's house, even. There's a wide variety of settings. The Oval Office is unusual. Message sent.
Yeah, unusual message sent. Katty K, what is so fascinating is how badly the entire investigating the investigators ruse has gone. We can go back to John Durham, who completely humiliated himself, really destroyed a great reputation by, coming up empty. One bad decision after another, one dismissed case after another. So you have that example, and you also have Chairman Comer and his examples, of course, how badly that went, where you ended up having fellow Republicans, the Wall Street Journal editorial page, everybody else going, please just stop. Here's the biggest problem with investigating the investigators. When you investigate the investigators, you've got to bring up the underlying facts of what the investigators were investigating. And Donald Trump certainly doesn't want that for January the 6th. Does he really want to get the testimony that the committee got? Does he really want to go through all that? He doesn't want to bring up the hush money case. I mean, they can do it internally, but to have it spill out publicly, that's not good for Donald Trump. if he's really looking forward, because looking back only digs up a lot of soil that he and his political allies do not want dug up.
Yeah, in some ways for this administration, it might be much easier just to get rid of all of the FBI agents who were involved in the prosecution cases of January the 6th, rather than to actually dig into the details of it. It was interesting that it was announced on day one by Pam Bondi. She clearly knows who her boss is and what he's looking for. Having that ceremony in the Oval Office, in the White House, so unusual, but maybe she was trying to send a message. Yes, look, I'm coming straight out of the gate doing exactly what it is that you want me to do. Let's see how far it actually goes. But, Congressman, when you look at what is happening across the federal government at the moment, whether it is in the Justice Department, whether it is in the CIA as well, whether it is in the FBI where buyouts have been offered, what is the concern that in this bid to, I get it, to sort of disrupt the American government, which could do with some disruption, with these buyouts, my experience with buyout offices, the people who are in the best position leave because they can get jobs elsewhere. The people who are less qualified tend to stay. Are all of these agencies now, including the DOJ, at risk of losing some of their best people?
Definitely. And look, in the era of Trump, I think it's tough to sift through and figure out what is essential because there's so much coming at us all the time. This stuff at the Justice Department is essential, right? When we're talking about the rule of law, I mean, it's not just about people's rights, but it's also just about the economy and business, right? Everything in this country depends on the rule of law, on predictability, on an understanding that you have certain rights, that the government is going to protect those rights, not come after you. So I would tell the opposition, the Democrats, who I think have been guilty of a sky is falling approach every day, especially during the first Trump administration. I think they've learned a little bit this time, but this stuff is essential. The Justice Department, the CIA, the way these employees are being treated. In terms of the buyouts, look, I think probably people who are going to retire sometime soon might take the buyouts. The reports that I've seen up to now don't show droves of people leaving these agencies, but we do have to watch out for that. But going back to the topic of figuring out what the opposition should focus on, what the media should focus on, I think it's things like this. We can get distracted easily. We can fall into the trap of, for example, Gaza and focusing on that for days. That's likely not going to happen. That doesn't have any immediate implications. What happens at the Justice Department does.
Yeah, also you could add to that list the unelected billionaire having access to payments at the Treasury Department. The list is very long right now. Former Republican Congressman of Florida, Carlos Curbelo. Carlos, thanks so much. We appreciate it.